We've got some explosive things to talk about today. We've got the future of Guild Wars 2 Endgame has been laid bare before us with Old Lion's Court. And I think we have some of the most significant changes to an elite specialization we have ever seen.
It genuinely felt to me like a top tier strike. It felt like it was like that EOD strike quality. I feel that Aspusada strikes were like a little bit low quality in the EOD ones. I feel like EOD really stepped it up, and it felt like they just continued that.
That's going to be a little bit spicy, and I guess we might as well just, we can't dodge it forever. We do have to, we're going to have to talk about what's going on here with Firebrand.
Yeah, but what is good is Hammer Warrior.
That is true, actually.
Yeah.
Hammer Warrior is very legit, and I'm going to prove it right now.
Oh, here we go.
Wow.
Oh, shit! Boom. We're in. We are in. The earliest tea time probably ever. Unless you consider maybe, this one just a very early version of next week's tea time. That's also possible. But here we are. It's tea time. We've got some explosive things to talk about today. We've got the future of Guild Wars 2 Endgame has been laid bare before us with Old Lion's Court. And I think we have some of the most significant changes to an elite specialization we have ever seen in Guild Wars 2.
Clearly, you're talking about Reaper.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. Yeah, that's those 7% buffs. That's insane. I haven't seen anything this important since they buffed Axe 2 by like 3%. Or the Shadowstone. Like, they keep buffing Shadowstone. And eventually now it's being reworked completely. Wow, very exciting. You love to see that. But anyway, we've got a lot to get through. We've got to do a bit of a speed run today as well. Some time constraints. In fact, what I love about this is that if you're watching this podcast now, you could actually just connect it to the Light. You could kind of have it in a playlist with the Lightbringers podcast later on, and it will just continue. We've got some troopers here. We've got Boots and Lara both double podcasting today, just chaining it together. It's like 4 hours of podcast action. You love to see that. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you for being here. And of course, let's go into the first topic here, and that's going to be the strike mission. And I almost want to open it up immediately. I don't want to go on a big ramble about this. I want to, I think I want to let Lara speak on this. I think because I love the energy here. I was really impressed by the new strike mission. Very impressed.
Me too.
And that's it.
It's
Go.
really good. I was wrong. I thought that was gonna be super easy because it's like it's core. It's probably the first strike most people do. But it had mechanics you could fail. There were quite a lot of things you could do to fail, actually. And even, like, after figuring out the obvious mechanics, there's, like, a million, like, kind of hidden, tiny mechanics that don't have very much impact right now, but could make for a really cool challenge mode if they get, like, more impactful. It's so good. I really like it. It took me a while to figure out. I think they did it perfectly where there's 3 bosses, but it's not just like zerging them down. You kind of gotta like keep them apart. Like when there's 2 spawns at the same time, you gotta tank it. It's really cool. I like it a lot. It felt just like, it genuinely felt to me like a top tier strike. It felt like it was like that EOD strike quality. I feel that Aspusada strikes were like a little bit low quality in the EOD ones. I feel like EOD really stepped it up, and it felt like they just continued that. And it's genuinely really engaging, fun content. Actually quite complicated. I do think maybe it's not the best track if you're brand new, because it does start pretty intense. Like I joined some pug groups, and many of the pug groups gave up. But actually getting into voice chats with some people, figuring everything out and stuff, it was really fun. I loved every second of it, and I cannot wait for the challenge mode. It's gonna be genuinely actually really engaging and fun. I think they did an amazing job.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I was really impressed. I think a lot of us were going into it kind of, oh yeah, it's gonna be, it's pretty easy. It's gonna be very easy entry-level strike mission, but no, the team really did not hold back, either on the complexity or on the difficulty, to be honest. I would definitely liken it to kind of like some of the harder Ender Dragon strike missions. I'd actually put it above Anka and the Mitron one. I'd probably put it around Kyning Overlook, and you might go, wait, are you insane? I'd say that because I'd say there's actually quite a lot of damage pressure. That was what actually surprised me, is that it does quite a lot of damage. If you look at some of the... And it also has a puzzle mechanic as well. So it's almost like a combination, to an extent, of Anka and also the Mitron strike mission, because it can actually punish you in multiple different ways. There's a lot going on there, and a lot of things that you can mess up horribly and, well, instantly die as well at multiple times in the fight with the puzzle mechanic, where you have to figure out where the safe zone's going to be. I also really, really enjoyed how they kind of switched it up a little bit. Because when I saw that there was 3 bosses, I thought, ooh, that's going to be exciting. Is it going to be one at a time? Is it going to be all 3 at a time with a shared health pool or something like that? There are kind of a number of different ways they could go about doing it. I think they were really creative with the approach, where you kind of have some of them casting down the deadly AoE, but not really being targetable. Sometimes there's 2 of them at the same time, one's following you around, right, and still casting it. You've got to split them up so they don't cast both of their abilities at the same time, right? Then you've got all 3 of them at the end, all casting abilities going crazy simultaneously. I think they actually handled that extremely well. And yeah, I think, as Laura says, I think that really lends itself well to the challenge mode, because there's, at some points in the fight, there's a lot going on. I think they can really ramp up the intensity and make it really chaotic and a really fun and engaging kind of combat experience, in addition to the puzzle mechanics. So yeah, I mean, I can actually gush about this for a long time. I think that the design is really impressive on this particular strike mission, because yeah, I think there's almost like a slight expectation that living world content is a bit of a step down in a way, right? Or kind of like, the releases between expansions, I should say, rather, is a bit of a step down compared to an expansion that has a bit more polish, a bit more resources put into it, in terms of the technology, the models, right, the animations and stuff like that. But I think this is a really, really positive thing for the future of the game when we have a strike like this, which is for season 1, right? Old content that's been remodeled, and it's executed to this degree of, I think, top-tier design, and also a high degree of polish. Yeah, I give it the thumbs up. Positive review.
The way it sounds, I think, even though, yeah, I think you're right that the difficulty is quite a bit of a step up if you're a core player, just new to the game, saying, hey, what's there to do now that I've hit level 80? There's these fractals I guess I could do, and then there's this strike mission. I think if you're just a new level 80 trying it out with core class, it's going to be pretty rough for you as a learning experience. But I think they made it at the right level, because number one, obviously, when you introduce new strike missions, I think they're trying to keep up the level of quality for the veterans, the people who've been playing the game for a long time, and they've done that. But more importantly, I think that if it was just the same level as the Icebrood Saga one, that's really easy. I forget the name of it, Freyr or something like that. If it was just at that level, someone who's playing the core game being like, okay, what's there to do at level 80, and then plays the strike mission, it's just a breeze, walk in the park, really easy, not that interesting. They might not be, into buying the expansions and stuff if they think that's what's coming up in the expansions, if they think that, oh, it's all of level 80 after this is just going to be these lame encounters, they might not do it. But with this being complicated and interesting, they might be enticed.
Yeah, if you're if you're coming from something like WoW or Final Fantasy, it might be kind of nice to have an actually interesting mechanical fight available to you before finishing all the expansions and getting to EOD. I guess you could try out raids. Raids are accessible pretty much the second you hit 80, but I do think that's an advantage to that. I do think that's an advantage to having it be more mechanically complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the nicest things I think about this as well is that, to me, it seems like the difficulty is kind of the puzzle, it's kind of the mechanics, not necessarily the DPS check. So even if you're running a core build that's not necessarily as much damage potential, you'll probably be fine as long as you figure out the mechanics and execute them correctly. So I feel like it should still be accessible. Just there's that puzzle to figure out, and you can even solo it. Yeah.
How long does it take?
Takes
like
a while, doesn't it?
45 minutes.
Okay.
It's a bit
You'll
lengthy,
get
but
there.
you'll get there in the end. You know, you will. On a core class, solo on a core class. Now that would take a pretty long time, I think, actually.
Necro downstate.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good point, actually. I think it will also nudge you towards kind of understanding the soft trinity with healers as well. I think the fight is very healing sensitive. And some of I did a bunch of pugs as well, just like total random groups and just to see what would happen. And the thing that I definitely noticed was that there's quite a lot of damage pressure, particularly in some of the later phases of the encounter when you have, the blue knight is pushing you away and there's like another one casting and the tanking's not being done right. So they're all attacking you at the same time. And that actually scales really, really well with healing. If you're able to heal, you can kind of brute force your way through it, which I guess in some ways isn't great because you don't really have to engage with the mechanics that much. And well, that's another topic entirely, actually. Like sometimes you ignore the mechanics. Sometimes you have no idea what they're doing. You read these really complicated tooltips and then go, well, actually none of that matters because it's normal mode, which, I think that's a downside of having only 2 difficulty settings. But yeah, I think there's some really good things that definitely nudge the player there. And I think that was a great point that you brought up as well there, Boots and Lara, with the fact that it's a very impressive strike mission. I think that if you saw this as a player, I think you're absolutely right. You would go, wow, this is insane. This content is crazy. I've got to buy the expansions right now and start playing more strike missions. It's time for Ender Dragons. I'm ready.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you somehow made it all the way through the core story and you were still on the fence, this seems like a corner case scenario. Maybe it would, but I don't know. I have like a bit of a dimmer take on that. Like I don't see it as like a bridge for new players. It just happens to be core, but I don't think that's like part of like their ANET Corpa strategy. Like, I don't think it being core is like the foremost thing in their mind of like, oh, this is going to be our display, our showcase for new players. I don't think new players are at all going to touch the content whatsoever. Because
Well, whether or not it's their intention, it's the way it is. Since it is core, it is their display for people who don't have the expansion.
it's there, but it's not going to be used. It's like a salad fork. The salad fork is there right next to my dinner fork, but I'm only using one fork, and I'm going to eat my entire meal with one fork.
Well, that's because you're not bougie enough.
True.
I guess it doesn't really nudge you towards it. If you're like doing the story, it doesn't go like, hey, try out the strike. You kind of got to know it's there, right?
Yeah. And I think Nike's right here too, actually. Maybe we're going a little too crazy. I mean, I guess it's a showcase to an extent. Players might come across it on YouTube, players might come across on Twitch and so on, or maybe like they'll stumble into a pug group at some point, or maybe the open world thing, like the Battle for Land's Arch kind of meme. But yeah, like now that I think about it, when was the last time you saw a core player do tier 4 fractals, for example? And there are obviously some, right? Don't get me wrong. There are definitely going to be some players who engage in that content, but I think it will be almost an even lower amount of players who do the strike mission, because I think 10-player content is definitely perceived to be a little more intense, even if it's not necessarily the case. So I think 10-player content will probably have an even kind of lesser uptick with core players, because yeah, again, look at tier 4 fractals. You don't really see that many core players, even though there are some somewhat decent core builds, actually. Core Engineer, for example, Core Quickness Warrior is more than playable, actually, if you want to go in that direction. But yeah, it just doesn't really seem the case. And I don't think that's because, core players are all a bunch of noobs. I think it's kind of the other way around. It's more like core players probably have bought the game by this point, right? Like, there probably aren't that many people who stay free to play forever, I think.
The people that stay free to play forever are usually people from countries where the exchange rate is really bad, and they would, if they had the money, they would go paid, but so it's just not an option for them.
Right. So for them, it's not that the strike is the deciding factor, it's the money that's the deciding factor.
Like if you're to the point where you're like doing tier 4 fractals and strikes, you like the game. It's just a matter of whether or not you can afford $30, 30 American dollars.
To be fair, though, tier 4 fractals has a larger barrier to entry than the strike does.
That is true.
So there's not a lot of core players playing tier 4 fractals because, yes, it'll take them a very long time to get to the point to be able to do that. But the strike, they don't have that barrier.
That's true. So maybe people will leap in. Core Engie, 35k DPS,
Leap in, get flamed.
Yep. You know what core really needs is a healing build, right? You have core Ellie. That's basically your best.
It's so good.
Not anymore though.
Oh, the scepter change.
No, you just play
You play
staff.
staff, yeah,
with
you play
soothing-
Yeah, you play
Staff.
soothing
staff.
mist.
Yeah, you play staff.
Yeah.
Staff is a healing.
And you wiggle
Or-
around so that everyone gets soothing mist.
Yes.
Pretty good.
The big heal. The big heal. You don't have you know what, sadly you don't have minstrel. That kind of feels bad.
Oh, that's from
You
Heart of
gotta
Thorns,
be-
isn't that?
You gotta
Yeah.
be a magi.
Yeah, your boons, they don't exist. Which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah. Do we have any kind of thoughts on the strike mission before we move on to some balanced gaming? Because
I did
Yeah.
think it was interesting. Like after so when we first did it, our group was pretty good. Like we had all 10 good players,
Mhm.
and we kind of just broke the break bars and then destroyed the mobs or phased them. But then watching you do it later with random pugs who had no DPS, it was a totally different experience to see that, where it was like, oh, you actually have to engage with the mechanics before stuff kills you. Whereas we were under zero pressure whatsoever.
yeah. I think that's the group composition is definitely important. I think if you don't have protection, you're incredibly sad on that fight. If you only have one healer, you're incredibly sad. I found a heal Scourge to be unbelievably effective on that fight, actually, because you don't get necessarily punished for going down state that much. You can just kind of get revived up over and over again, which I guess is fine. I guess it's fine for normal mode. But yeah, it's pretty good. And yeah.
We were talking about this before. So you think that the strike was designed with the assumption that the raid will have permanent protection in mind?
I think, yeah. I would say
Yeah.
that all endgame content these days is kind of designed around having a lot of boons up permanently. Like certain, your offensive stuff, your quickness, your might, your fury, and probably protection as well, yeah.
Okay, so Catalyst will be okay in that regard then. But I mean, Spectre needs more. Spectre needs more protection availability. I could get 90% uptime of protection, but that's like doing the most ridiculous rotation in the world in order to get it. So please give me
Yeah.
some more
The
protection.
the quickness guy just has to bring the protection.
Oh,
He
yeah,
can't do
there you go.
everything.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, quickness herald, right? Boom. Then you don't need protection.
Ooh.
Even
Quickness Herald,
Harbor.
aka the new God Emperor.
Yeah,
of
that's
Guild Wars
true.
2.
Yeah, the
Oh
new
my gosh.
this build is crazy. Actually, to build completely insane.
35k DPS benchmark probably with perma quickness and perma everything except alacrity. Seems good. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I guess that might be a good place to kind of slowly sidle towards the balance patch. Actually, I guess because it was a bit of an interesting one. We have some very big changes coming through. A few reworks there, Deadeye, or shall we say, the Sniper, right? The Sniper has had some changes there. Firebrand is completely reworked. Herald is even better now. Reaper is just, wow, insane. 7% buff. Incredible stuff. That's massive content there. I don't even know.
7%.
I don't even know where to begin. Right on this. Hollowsmith got also some extra juice as well. Catalyst got a 25,000% buff. And that probably won't be enough for the LA mains. Actually, it might be, to be honest. Well, we'll see, I guess. But, yeah. There's a lot going on here. Do you want to start, Nike? Do you have any initial thoughts?
Yeah.
Who are you going to bully first, right? That's the question.
Oh, my copy pasta didn't work.
Wait, what is
Oh
this?
my god, what is this?
Wait,
was
what
a
is
really
this
good
supposed to
one.
be?
It was a really good one.
This is a lot of this is
Yeah,
a lot
it was,
Yeah,
it was
that-
one of those that tell a whole story, but yeah, it didn't work.
That's unfortunate.
Anyway, some classes in it went incredibly hard and was just like, you know what? We're gonna throw out the script. We're just gonna turn the knob up to 11 on everything in this class. And then other classes they were like, whoa, calm down. A 5% buff? It's getting a little crazy. We can't do that. We can't have Reaper go from 31k to 32. That would just be wild. Can't allow that. Hold your horses. So yeah, it's sad that it was very schizophrenic. Some classes got a lot of love, and others, just little love taps. And there wasn't much rhyme or reason because the ones that needed it the most, didn't seem to get a ton. Reaper,
like
Weaver,
Willbender still doesn't
Dragon
get
Hunt.
the alacrity and healing trait decoupled.
Wait, say again?
I'm still gonna harp on it every time. Willbender got a couple of changes, but they still didn't remove the trade-off from the Alacrity trait on Willbender Grandmaster, and that doesn't make any sense still.
Yeah. So I'm like, look, Willbender is the elite spec that everyone forgot. I don't think I even know what that is. So I mean, that's never gonna happen.
He used to be Vindicator, but not anymore.
Not anymore. And Vindicator is actually getting stronger because they just buffed Core Revenant, right? They made Impossible Odds do even more damage, and I guess Herald might be a decent place to start here because I don't think anyone who plays Herald could possibly be upset with these changes because, yeah, Herald just does way more damage now. It was already really good, and now it's going to be even better. It hits really, really hard. It's going to have better uptimes on quickness as well because of the cooldown reductions on some of the facets. Pretty insane. Vindicator going to do more damage too. With the option to go for kind of a full, like a mega DPS build using Alliance Stance, you can still sacrifice some DPS and play Jalis for some defensive utility at the same time. Rev is looking good. If you think, every Rev spec is insane, right? Renegade is really good damage currently. Vindicate is going to be really good damage. And Herald's going to be really good damage and really good quickness. I guess it needs Alack Renegade to come back. Because Alack Renegade it's playable, but it's a bit of a depressing build. But that's it. That's the only hole in the rolls for Rev.
I did see one out of context Reddit post of a Herald main being mad.
Oh, really?
It was like a screenshot someone sent me of a Herald main going, it's obviously clear ANET doesn't understand the problems with Herald, and they had like -2 downvotes. But I'm like, I just wish I could interview this person and find out like how their view of reality is so different than everyone else's, because it's amazing. I love that. But yeah, I mean, I love Quick Herald. It's such a fun, easy play build. You can go into like strike mission groups and be pugs and be top DPS and still providing all these boons. It's good. It's really good.
It is indeed good.
It's kind of nice to see, isn't it? Because honestly, just a couple weeks back, it felt like Revenant entirely has kind of fallen behind. Like nobody was really playing Renegade much. Herald was like entirely forgotten. Vindicator was very unpopular. So it's nice seeing it, Revenant getting its spot in the spotlight for a bit. I like it.
I think this type of I guess overcorrection is actually probably a good thing too. The metagame tends to move really, really slowly, and unless there's a really big change, players might just not change at all, right? They'll, it kind of has to be worth it to play a new build, right? Like otherwise players are just going to stay on the same thing. It's a pretty big opportunity cost to setting up a new character for a lot of players, and for the meta to actually shift takes quite a lot. So I actually don't mind some pretty big nudges, and I think that kind of combined with the Firebrand changes should definitely shift up the quickness providers a fair bit, right? Like that's going to be a little bit spicy, and I guess we might as well just, we can't dodge it forever. We do have to, we're going to have to talk about what's going on here with Firebrand. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Firebrand's weird. A lot of weird changes to it that are going to be difficult to parse out until you get to try it in game, I think. Because, again, they even said that right now all of the numbers on this are what we currently have it at, but we are going to change it on the fly, basically, once it gets into game and we see how it actually performs. What they're doing is, instead of having a cooldown on each tome, there is no cooldown in each tome. Instead, the pages are shared between tomes and regenerate. They're like initiative now, but instead of regenerating every second, they regenerate every 8 seconds. And then on top of that, the tomes have different cooldowns than they had. The pages have different cooldowns than they had before, but at least they're instant activation now. So it doesn't take like a long little pull out of your tome for each one. It happens right away, and then you can use your skill. So that's good, I guess, for PvP, because one of the reasons Firebrand, besides it being nerfed to the ground, was difficult to use in PvP is because to pull out your utility tomes, it took a little doing to be able to actually take them out on demand. But yeah, it's gonna be weird to see what happens now. I don't know exactly. I think there's gonna be a little bit of a DPS increase actually for Firebrand, for a Condi Quickness Firebrand, because Quickfire is the trait you can take for it now instead of the Lore Master, which everybody took before. And that means that if you're running a quickness build for Firebrand, it's just an increase in DPS. But yeah, you're not going to see it's going to be a hit to sort of the crazy versatility that Firebrand's had in the past. But I don't know if it's really going to take it down that much, because I think good Firebrand players will be able to manage their pages properly. And so they will have the utility available when they need it.
The target of the change is to essentially make it so you can't chain all of these things together independent of one another, right? So if you're going to use your defensive abilities and your utility abilities, well, you're going to have less damage. If you want to, if you want to use a lot of protection and reflection, well, that's going to be less healing and less damage. Essentially, what this does is it just brings Firebrand to a position where it's a lot easier to balance it, especially for competitive game modes, I think. Like Firebrand got absolutely nuked from orbit because it was so oppressive in PvP that they basically had to delete it from the game mode, right? Because of the design was so strong. And this now allows them to essentially bring it back. Like, I don't think it's coming back just yet. It has quite a lot of issues because, again, it got nerfed into oblivion in PvP because of how powerful it was back in the good old Firebrand Scourge days. But yeah, just for every game mode, I think it's a really exciting design change. I think in some ways, it's, of course, a really big buff because it means that you can access this utility anytime you want. You just have to be a little bit more careful in managing it. And it increases the playability. For example, I've actually seen a lot of heal Firebrands very upset at this change. And that's really interesting to me because I think the exact opposite is true. One of the really big problems with heal Firebrand, actually, in my opinion, is that you really struggle to get consistent value out of those tomes because you go, well, I want to use 2 pages here and get some good AoE healing to sustain my team. But hang on a minute. I've got 3 left and they don't do anything because each one is so strong. They heal for like 5k AoE. But wait a minute, my team's already on full health. So I'm just going to waste my 3 pages. Well, now you don't have to. Now you can use a few pages, drop out, and then you've got 3 for when you need them next. I actually think this is a pretty significant buff to the playability and usability of Heal Firebrand, as you're going to be able to, again, access that key defensive utility when you need to. You're going to access that key healing and so on a lot of the time. So I'm actually a big fan of this. I think this nerf is very elegant with the way it was, particularly with the Grandmaster traits now kind of forcing you to specialize a little bit. Are you going to be a damage dealer? Are you going to retain your additional healing and get more pages to spam? That's going to be great for Heal Firebrands, a page every 6 seconds, for example. All that kind of stuff. I think that this is a very, very good set of changes. And it's kind of funny, actually, just as a final note here. Heal Firebrand is actually one of the weaker healers in the game. It has very strong utility, which is why it sees a lot of play. But the actual healing output that it has is actually pretty mediocre. When you compare it to something like Druid, have you seen the numbers on that spec recently? It is insane. Or Heal Rev, it is absurd how much these classes pump, actually. So Firebrand kind of being brought up in that regard is actually kind of interesting to see. But the really problematic build, the Quickness Firebrand, that has the damage, has the healing, has the defensive utility packaged together, that's the one that's going to get targeted by this. I'm really impressed with the design changes that ArenaNet took here. I think it's going to make Firebrand more fun once players get used to it and utilize the new playstyle, and easier to balance too, because a few things are probably going to be a little bit busted, let's be honest, right? It might be too weak now, it might be too strong, because when you're making a design change, it's very difficult, as you said, Boots, to kind of figure out how that's actually going to work, how it's actually going to look. The rotation might be a bit scuffed right now. They might have to adjust that. But the thing is, they have so many things that they can change now. They have the ability to change the cooldowns way more on the tome abilities, because you can go in there anytime you want. So they aren't limited to having them a short cooldown, because you can only go in the tome every 70 seconds, right? Because right now those abilities have to be a short cooldown. Otherwise, you can only use them once, right? Realistically, which isn't very good.
It's rough for me in World vs. World, my roaming build, because now the reflect bubble that I relied on a lot is, instead of like a 5-second cooldown, it's a 20-second cooldown. And also a trait that I use, one of the Grandmaster traits, is completely changed. The top one that I used to do CC and fire,
Stoic Demeanor. That's a good one.
It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be an event where all the far below average pug firebrands are kicked off the class because they will fail to do their basic functions in the group. It's gonna be ugly.
Or how
Like-
about like me, who always failed the basic functions in the group, just remain on there. Nobody really tells. Nobody can really tell the difference.
Yeah, I'll know because I'll look at my buff bar and see no quickness and be like,
Oh no, the quickness is always there. That's the easy part.
well, okay. You have a lot of faith in these pug firebrands.
Fair enough.
I mean, they like the quick DPS firebrand, which is the one that we're suggesting probably got hurt the most by this. Those guys didn't use their defensive tomes anyway, ever. The average pugs, so very little has changed for them. Like they're not hurt. But
Like I said, it might actually be a buff for those people.
It probably is more damage. Yeah, I think that's part of why they buffed Herald. It's interesting. Like I almost get the idea that they want to, they almost want to reduce the difference between a DPS build and a build that applies a boon. Right? Maybe they need to do that with Alacrity as well. So people actually want to play Alacrity builds, right? Because right now it's rough.
problem.
People don't want to play Alac. You know, you go in open world. There's a zillion Firebrands, a billion Heralds. It's like 2 Spectres, right? Like one
If
thing that
that.
gives a lack. It's actually depressing. I want my green numbers.
And you see a bunch of mechs and you're like, oh, there's like 5 mechs
Yeah.
in this squad. There's
That's
gonna at
good.
least be a lack. Nope.
No.
They're all playing AFK rifle
Yeah.
shenanigans with no lack.
Yeah, that's actually.
And now they're gonna have to
that's-
be right. They're gonna have to be stacked on top of their mech now.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanist. Actually, I kind of want to talk about Firebrand a bit more first.
Okay,
that's,
go
That's
on.
gonna be next. Yeah,
Continue.
because the Firebrand thing, we can talk about the changes, and they're interesting to talk about, and there are going to be more adjustments down the line. But what I think is really important to talk about here, actually, is the fact that this type of change really gets to the essence of some of the issues with the game. Right, a lot of problems that players have, for example, things around Elementalist, things around the way Spectre applies Alacrity, even the way Herald applies quickness, Scrapper having to spam all of its gyros. These are design problems with the game, and Firebrand was one of the most egregious design problems in the game, and that's now being tackled. I think it's really important to recognize that these things are actually being being tackled head on by the dev team now. It is going to be a bit messy, and it's going to take a very long time as well. I wouldn't expect to see more than 1 or 2 pretty big design nudges every patch. It's like every 3 months or so, because the ramifications of this is a lot bigger, right? Not only is it more
Roy's
expensive,
gonna be working
dev
late.
time. Yeah, Roy is going to
You're
be
gonna have
working
to work
late.
late. You better might as well just bring a cot and put it in your office.
Yeah, and things are going to get messy. You might log in and your spec ends up being a bit crappy for a few weeks until they hotfix it. But the important thing to understand is that a better designed game is easier to balance. Firebrand is actually balanceable now. Now, because they've got so many things they can play around with and tweak. It can be balanced. So that means that it's not going to oppress the meta as much anymore. Well, hopefully down the line it won't be as oppressive to the metagame anymore. It means it can be back in PvP. And similar stuff like this is how you fix mech. You don't fix mech by nerfing the numbers. Obviously, right? The numbers already got, nuked in half approximately on mech in a lot of areas? Didn't do shit. The stability duration went from permanent down to 6 seconds, right? Mech is still by far and away the superior support class for PvE. Why? Design. It's the design problems that are coming through there. Why does nobody like playing Spectre? Even though Spectre's really strong numerically, it has great numbers. But why does nobody play it? Well, it's because spamming all your wells on cooldown is kind of annoying, right? And it isn't really that much fun, and it's a bit of a design problem, right? Why do warrior banners... Why does like Quickness Banner Warrior, why does it still not quite work as well as, say, a Firebrand? Well, because banners are just all ridiculously overstacked and they can't be used reactively. This is a design issue. And these are the things that really hold the game back across the board. Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about Banner of Tactics.
Yeah.
Interesting tweak when we get there. But.
Yeah, we will
I will
indeed.
say this, though. one of the reasons why Firebrand needed to be changed like this is because their tomes are like kits, except they're kits with like ridiculously powerful abilities on them. But they're not exactly like kits because they're not quite as good as kits originally, because they had long cooldowns on them. Mechanist still has a bunch of kits available, and they're just better versions of, well, not better versions of tomes because the skills aren't quite as good, but they're still there. And in fact, some of them got buffed. So one of the reasons why Mechanist might be a little bit strong in certain circumstances because they still have their kits, and that's not going to get changed.
I think Mechanist is next, to be honest. Like, they talked about how they didn't really do much tweaking on the supports in this patch because they want to see how this change shakes out first. Honestly, I was expecting changes to like Alacrity Tempest. I was expecting them to make that like easier to actually properly apply and like more smooth to play.
Just pulse the Alac as you overload, which is what everyone was saying.
But like they didn't touch basically like any of the supports very much, did they? I honestly think that I'm kind of impressed with how they pulled it out of stops. You know, they didn't just... Firebrand has been like this for years, but they weren't afraid to basically just change the whole design of the spec around. And I think that bodes well for stuff like mech as well. I think that bodes well. They are like willing to do big reworks to, like you said, people like actually address the design issues, not just change the numbers, but actually like... The issue with Firebrand, in my opinion, was always just that it's been like so versatile. I actually wonder if this is gonna make it even more versatile now, because you'll have to share the pages, right? But it will be easier to just like quickly go into F3 tome, put down some step, and then quickly go back to your F2 tome.
It definitely feels like a buff for really good Firebrands.
Yes, it's like the ultimate piano.
But the people that like just like memorized a rotation or whatever, or even worse, the ones who just like joined pugs and auto attacked on staff, like as Healbrand, those guys, it's like way worse. Like they're going to be way less effective than they were before. So it basically raised the skill ceiling, but also like lowered the floor a little bit. So
I'm very excited to try,
since that's not the way that they've been trying to make the game go. So it's interesting that they went that way.
I think
it's necessary.
I feel like it's almost like they're releasing a new elite spec. I know it's still Firebrand, but it's like it's kind of hyped to me. I want to like learn the new Firebrand.
I agree. It is. It's going to be very different to play, and it's going to be fun to try to learn it.
Yeah, it used to be like this like slow reader who was like, "Let me go through my leafy tome." Now it's like a speed reader who's like, "Gotta read."
Yeah. I think it's very exciting to see how it's going to continue to develop, down the line as more changes come through, some hot fixes and so on. Really exciting stuff. And I honestly can't wait to see what they're going to do with other elite specializations as well. There are certainly other elites that, for different reasons, right? Some might need a rework to make them more exciting. Some might need a rework to make them more balanceable. I think that this is the fact that we could be seeing this on a pretty regular basis is really exciting no matter what you're playing, actually, because, I know that it can be frustrating to have a playstyle and then have that changed. But I think that what we've seen here with the Firebrand is that they're really going to try to preserve the essence of the elite specialization, which I think they've done very well here with Firebrand, right? I think that's the big difference between the Firebrand changes and the Scrapper changes, for example, when they made the gyros into pulsing AoEs at range, was that I think that kind of lost a little bit of the essence of what Scrapper was and how it actually played out, whereas this I actually don't think it does. In a way, in a crazy way, this feels like a Firebrandier Firebrand. You know what I mean? It actually feels more Firebrand than the current iteration of it, where you can be just leafing through all the tomes, checking everything out, throwing spells all over the place. It's gonna be crazy. It's going to be insane.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go indeed. And well, yeah.
I feel a lot more like Engie kits, actually.
Yes, very much so. It's kit. Look, Firebrand is now Guardian and Thief and Engie at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just a slightly worse version of each, but the skills are more powerful.
So after the July balance patch, I think like Quickbrand had to change like one of its master traits to like keep the quickness up. Like you used to have stalwart speed and you had to change to something else, or maybe it was vice versa. A lot of people kept running the old traits for a very long time because they didn't bother to read the patch notes or update their build. So I'm curious to see if this rework is going to be big enough to get people to like open their hero panel and like look at their traits and go, maybe I need to make a few tweaks to my build in light of the fact that these traits are totally different now. We'll see.
Yeah,
I have to check my build. I have to check. I'm concerned right now.
Yeah, I think it's just going to get nudged. I think you'll definitely get prompted to do that for sure. I think you only have to change one trait, I think, most of the time. This is going to be changing away from Lawmaster. And yeah, and look, I could also praise that change because, again, Lawmaster is a kind of broken trait. You'd take it on literally every build on Firebrand all the time. Now you actually won't take it all the time. Nice. But I think that's enough on Firebrand. I think we've got the point across here. Do we want to talk about the other really good build? It probably is going to be the mech change, I think, that we should talk about next. Mech.
Yeah, let's just go by class then. All right. Okay. We've reached the NG portion.
Yeah.
Mech.
Mechanist.
And now, genius.
Mech is a really interesting change, I think. And it's almost a little bit similar to the Firebrand. So basically what's happening is that if your mech is further than 360 units away from you, then it loses a lot of stats after 6 seconds. This is what's good about this is that I think Arena have identified one of the things that makes mech really strong in PvE is that you can be in 2 places at the same time pretty much, which is very good for a support. Some supports can kind of do this. Like, think about it, Rev can do it a little bit with a tablet, but mech can do it really well. And yeah, it is a bit of an interesting thing here because this doesn't actually affect skilled players that much, if at all, actually, because high-level mech play, especially support mech, actually requires a lot of micromanagement of the mech anyway, and controlling its position with shift signet by calling it in, by redeploying it, for example, all this kind of stuff. So this doesn't really affect that. It's mostly just going to be a bit of a skill check, right? In other words, if you don't play the build sufficiently well, you're going to get punished pretty hard, actually. Like if you're a DPS mech and your mech loses 50% stats, ooh, that's unfortunate, right? If your mech is completely in Narnia and on a support mech, and oh yeah, the healing power, the boon duration is gone, ooh, that's very unfortunate. So it's very much just a bit of a skill check, which is interesting. Because again, I think I'm not sure if this is, and this is why I think this is more of almost like a Band-Aid fix or a Band-Aid change until they can change something about the design, because I think the big problem with Mechanist is that so much of it is passive around the mech. Like if it was active around the mech, maybe a little bit more like Ranger, I think it would be less egregious, but everything is so passive on Mechanist, and of course it's all centered around the mech. That's what really makes it kind of a disgusting build in the metagame right now. That, and obviously ridiculous levels of versatility, like every single boon in the game except resistance. I mean, what could possibly go wrong by doing that, right? And barrier, by the way. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, go.
Does any of the DPS ones use the ranged attacks as the
that's the DPS build.
Yeah, so that'll be more difficult to work around, I think. The DPS build is going to be hard to, because you're going to have to move around a lot in the fight, and the mech doesn't quite move around as much as you do. Especially if it's ranged. If it's attacking at melee, it's always going to be on the target, so that's fine. You can move around close to the target that way. But it is going to be rough for the ranged mech because it doesn't move that much.
Here's what I have to say about DPS mech. It's dead. Play Holosmith. Get good. Turn into a hologram. That's where you need to be.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I think it's time for Lara to hype up Holosmith. But as a kind of like a final thought on mech, I think that we might see some further changes there. And I'm a little concerned that mech might become a little annoying to play and a little bit unintuitive to operate, I think, especially for newer players. There's going to be a lot of kind of clicking on things, and the AI is pretty bad, and you can't actually make a mech go to an arbitrary location. You have to kind of make it go on a target or follow you, which I think is a little bit annoying. But Yeah, like I think there could be some concerns though with the way that this change actually interacts. But I think Nike is right, because it's time to put down your mech. It's time to declutter visually and just play Holosmith.
Turn
Embrace the
into a
Holosmith.
hologram.
I think
It's
the
the
biggest
80s.
issue, I think the big issue with like the mech change is just seeing where your mech is. Because
Yeah.
there's so much stuff on the screen. I think that will be the struggle. Like, is my mech in range right now, or is my mech
And
not
especially
in range
since-
right now?
Or is that someone else's mech?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Since they all look the
Especially
same.
since there's like 5 mechs in every party, then you're like,
Oh my
which one's
gosh.
mine? Yeah.
However, Holosmith is here to save you. I'm a Holosmith fan. I've been playing Holosmith for years. Even when people said it was bad, I was still playing it. I was like in a squad, there would be like 5 power max, and then I would be there trying really hard to out DPS like at least one of them with my Holosmith. And it's getting buffed. I kind of didn't expect it. Like, you know, we've sort of got like Reaper, I've got like Dragon Hunter over there, who, you know, are kind of like very much like, please buff us. We're over here and like we're kind of dying. And then you know, this one meme in like the pool where like, you know, this mom is like raising up one of the children, and this there's this skeleton in on the bottom. That's kind of what it feels like. I'm really excited. I like Holosmith a lot, but I found it interesting that Holosmith seems to be the one that's got buffed like in a big way, while like they were kind of, it felt like a bit conservative about the Reaper and the Dragon Hunter buffs. But I don't care. I'm happy. I play Holosmith. It's my favorite. I'm actually already
Yeah.
kind of playing the build that might be good now. I'm like playing Source, and I always try to stay above 100 heat anyway with my build. Like I do the one where you don't overheat. And it's fun. Holosmith is generally, in my opinion, one of the most fun DPS specs. Maybe a little bit more engaging than like Power Mech, but it's honestly not very hard to play at all. It's very easy to get into. And I think, didn't they say something during the stream how they want Holosmith to kind of be the power DPS engineer builds? So honestly, they might be trying to nudge some of these power mech endurers to try out Holosmith.
They even
And-
buffed Condi Hollow. And
Yeah.
they added
Yeah.
burning to a lot of the
They
stuff,
did.
it looked like.
Which
Yeah.
I found surprising. Like nobody's really playing that, I think. But
Yeah,
who knows?
I find it a little interesting. Like you look at those lists of changes, and there's 13 different changes here, and they're all buffs to different Holosmith stuff, and it's all large buff. It's like 30% here, 20% there, 50% here, and it's not gonna be. I mean, that's gonna be like an exponential change. That's not like, you know, since we changed every skill to be 20% stronger, you're now gonna have, you know, 20% extra DPS. This is gonna be a large amount of extra DPS, I think. Not exponential,
Yeah.
obviously, because that's not how math works. But yeah,
And the playstyle is going to be totally new. Like, I mean, obviously some people were not playing the overheat build, but the DPS build will be the not overheat build. Like, I'm not even sure where you're going to use the overheat anymore. But yeah, so like, yeah, it's hard. It's going to be interesting to see where the chips fall on that, because it's kind of an unknown, but with
Yeah.
big numbers added to it. So it could be very good.
Yeah. There are some seriously big numbers out there. You know, we're going to be seeing Vindicator is definitely going to be pushing the up at 30Ks. Holosmith is probably going to be closing in on 40. Catalyst is going to be over 40 next patch, actually, as well. That's what people are theorizing. There are some big numbers that are coming to some of these builds.
I think Deadeye is going to be Dagger Deadeye is going
Yeah.
to be pushing 50.
Yeah,
Oh.
Deadeye.
It's going to be on the good side of 45. Put it
Yeah,
that way.
Yeah. I think there was kind of a theory crafted benchmark. It's around 46,000 DPS with Dagger Deadeye. Of course, you know, to be fair, that is one of the builds that should do really high DPS, as it is, you know, a zero cleave, pure melee, 11k HP, doesn't really do that much utility as well, right? So, I mean, hey, fair enough. I think it's kind of okay to have builds that are that strong. I mean, we have Bladesworn right now is really blasting, again, in a kind of similar role as that ultra damage build, unless you happen to be a speedrunner, then you just take a million of them and give quickness as well at the same time.
does the Deadeye use backstab?
Yeah.
Does the Dagger Deadeye use backstab?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Does
then
backstab still have
hard
to be
seeker
behind the
spam
target?
once you get to 25.
Yeah. So does the 46k include having to be behind the target if you're backstabbing?
Yes.
Okay.
So that can be
yeah,
inconvenient. That can be
yeah.
annoying sometimes.
I was almost the most surprised by what wasn't in this balance patch. Like, I was 100% expecting Colney Virtuoso nerfs. Like, that build is extremely dominant right now. It's almost like the go-to in loads of different bugs, and they just didn't touch it, which makes me happy.
They hardly nerfed anything. Like there
Yeah.
weren't like I kind of agree with that direction. Like obviously, if you continue to do that forever, you get power creep. But yeah, like there was definitely low hanging nerf fruit that everyone expected, like the martial cadence on warrior, like maybe Condi Virtuoso, and they just ignored it at least.
I think they didn't go near martial cadence because it only really affects kind of speedruns is probably why they went in that direction. And you know, I think
they learned their lesson from the Catalyst.
Exactly. Yeah, they learned their lesson from 47k Catalyst. Okay, well, hey, look, we're nearly back there now. Okay, we're halfway. We're in between. It's very exciting. Yeah, I think that's actually a tactical decision, though. I think they wanted to not nerf things because they've been doing a lot of nerfs pretty consistently for the last couple of patches. I think they probably wanted to say, you know what, look, we're not actually evil. CMC, he's got a heart, right? You know, he actually enjoys making things better as well sometimes. So they just slapped a few buffs on, right? And just, you know what, we're not going to actually hit anything too hard this time around. But I think you're absolutely right with things being a little bit absent or maybe not quite enough. I think it's really cool that they're, you know, they buffed Hollow and they probably buffed Hollow quite a lot, right? But it's really weird that in a way, the second Holy Trinity has always felt to me like, yeah, Hollow, DH, and Reaper, right? Those are like the three, those are the power classes, you know, those are the power class, you know what I'm saying? Those are good. But they were like, you know, Hollow, you get loads of damage. And then DH and Reaper, well, you guys not so much, right? It's very interesting. I'm surprised they didn't go really hard on Reaper because
I think
surely,
they will, actually.
You think they're going to change it and tweak it up
I think that, you know, they put these notes out early for a reason, and it's to solicit feedback. And if there's anything that we've gotten feedback on in the last 48 hours, it's unhappy Reapers. So I think that they will digest that feedback and probably throw a 10%, 15% modifier on some easy to get trait and call it a patch.
It's big. I mean, right now the chill trait, you know, you get 20% more damage on cold shoulder. Maybe it should just be 35% or 33%, you know, like that, you know, there you go. Boom. Job done. Or give it some, you know, this is like the pain. There are some elite specs that still don't get 100% crit very easily. Chronomancer, for example, even though that is getting buffed. Reaper as well also just gets completely memed. Can't really get precision very easily. Just throw that in there. You know, maybe make Fury a bit better. Reaper now has like 30% Fury. Nice. Could be pretty good. There are a few ways. But yeah, that certainly is some few things. I do hope they are. I think they will be responsive to feedback too. You know, this is why they're posting the notes a little bit early, and they are actually getting a lot of input right on the forums and on the subreddit and so on. So I think it'll be really cool because again, I think that a lot Dragon Hunter and Reaper, they can just nudge it a little bit with numbers, and I think that's going to make people very, very happy, I think, if they do that. Maybe Weaver too, although no, that's probably not happening. Next patch, guys. Don't worry. You got Catalyst this patch, okay? Come on. All right, come on. Come on, please.
I think it's possible that the reason they don't like buffing Reaper too much as opposed to Hollowsmith or Deadeye is because it does have that second health pool, so it has like built-in defenses that is...
I think we got to get rid of that thought, like that whole...
Yeah,
like,
I get it. Like,
it's just, that's like archaic sort of philosophy. Like
is
probably
it because I mean that's
I think
why
in core vanilla 2012 Guild Wars 2 that what mattered. I think like the whole shit I'm low on life, better go into my shroud so that I can take a few more hits.
But if
that's
you're
not how it
always
is
shroud,
anymore. That's
you
not
get
how
to
it
like
plays.
You get to ignore a lot of you could ignore a lot of mechanics because of being 50% more tough than other things. So like I feel like even though it is not the greatest design to, you know, cripple one class because they just happen to be tougher than another, it's also you're just if it's the same amount of damage. If the Reaper has the same amount of damage as a Deadeye, everybody's gonna be playing Reaper just because it survives everything as opposed to a Deadeye.
Yeah, no. Well, let me actually just be a completely boring person and just sit on the fence here. I think you're both right. I think that, to be honest, I don't think that these two things are actually really that connected. I don't think Anet is going, yes, Reaper has a second health bar, so it must forever do less DPS than quickness builds. No, I don't actually think that's a thought process. Look, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a meme here, guys, and this is a little bit of a development. Here's a leak on any development, actually, not just Anet development. They probably just didn't really get round to buffing it, honestly. They just didn't do it yet. Like, that's the reality. And you might go, well, it's been years. Well, yeah. Hello, everyone. Hi, guys. Do you remember when they left Firebrand? Probably one of the most toxic things to the game. That's been here since 2017, guys. Do we all remember that? What about Scourge, one of the most disgustingly broken builds in the history of the game? Yeah, they haven't fixed that yet. Yeah, no shit, guys. Anet have not exactly got a track record of being very responsive to balance changes. With any luck, that's going to change now. But yeah, you shouldn't be surprised, or you shouldn't think it's unlikely that Anet just haven't done it yet. Because yeah, they historically have left absolutely insane design in the game for a really long time. So it's not exactly a surprise that things take a little bit of time to get these adjustments through. Yeah, I don't think... I think Reaper should absolutely lose some DPS for having that Shroud mechanic, because it is useful. It's a piece of utility that is quite nifty. However, does it justify it doing less damage than, like, a Quickness Herald?
No, of course
no.
not. But that's something
right?
else completely, right? Like, that's a different discussion, I think.
So to echo what Teapot said too, like
Yeah.
I happen to know that they have a mandate from management, the balance team does, that every class has to be touched in every balance patch. They can't just have a balance patch come out where a certain class has literally 0 patch notes. And therefore if they want to put most of their attention on Holosmith, they still have to throw 1 or 2 or 3 changes to like the other classes to like give them patch notes so that
was the Ranger gets a bug fix back a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the thing, and that's kind of why not every class gets the same equal amount of love every balance patch.
Yeah.
Speaking of love, I'm really excited about Spectre. I feel like everyone's sleeping on this. But Spectre Shrouds, they reduced the health pool in the previous balance patch quite significantly.
I remember.
So Spectres, especially pure DPS Spectres, that wouldn't be running like Ritualists, they would get knocked out of their shrouds quite easily. But now, they actually, in my opinion, solved it in a pretty nifty way. You just get 33% less incoming damage in PvE. So that should be a bit better. And here's the thing I'm really excited about. There is now a 0.5 seconds cooldown to exit Shadow Shroud. When I play DPS, I'm always like timing my buttons like crazy. And then I always accidentally enter and instantly exit the Shroud, and that will no longer happen, and I am so happy. This is nice. The best change in the whole patch for me. Oh, it's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that should really help out with a lot of the concerns that Spectre players have. I think that will greatly increase the durability, and it's a good thing because they can split this, right? Like, it seems that it's 0% in competitive, and it's going to be 33% in PvE, which seems to be the way that this is going to be balanced. So I think they even mentioned this on stream, right? They're going to look at the support capacity. They're going to look at stuff like consume shadows, maybe increase the values there, or maybe even rework it entirely so it functions a little bit better as a support build, as like a full support build. Because of course you have the Madman heal Spectre main boots over here. But I think that build definitely needs a little bit of help. It's surprisingly close, actually. Like, there's a lot of builds out there that are a little bit like this that are actually kind of close to being super cool and super powerful. And even the heal Spectre build, I would definitely say it's very, very playable, right? Like, make no mistake.
It's better than Heal Warrior, and there is a sizable Heal Warrior. I mean, I'm not going to say any bad words, but there's a sizable Heal Warrior group out there. And Heal Spectre's way better than that, and they should all be playing that instead.
They want to play Warrior,
it needs protection, though. It needs more protection than is currently available.
Yeah.
Well, or at least an easier way to get it.
Yeah, it's always good to see a lot of quality of life changes coming through. And well, I really hope to see some big changes to the way boon application works overall in a lot of builds. I mean, this one's kind of been done to death, so I won't linger on it for too long. But yeah,
I will say it is also kind of funny that Heal Spectre doesn't have any way to get to give anybody regeneration. I think is it the only build that can't give regeneration to anybody?
Incorrect. Oh no, that's I'm thinking. Never mind.
Ooh,
You can.
that was nearly incorrect throwdown, but it was not to be. Yeah,
I was thinking there might be a stolen skill, but you don't get that. So
yeah, impossible. The Ecto, yeah, you know, you get the big Ecto, but yeah, it's
that dude.
doesn't
If
exist.
Spectre had Ecto, that would be
Hey.
a build.
Boon
Yeah.
Thief comeback.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you want to talk about Ellie a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think about Ellie mains, Nike? Do you like Fire Wizard mains?
Fire wizards, you
yeah.
mean? Yeah, fire wizards. I'm sure there's some fire wizards in chat. Yeah. Fire wizards, they're down bad at the moment and not happy with their fire wizard status. Fire wizard did not get buffed. The spec that they hated, Catalyst, all the fire wizards hated Catalyst. It got buffed and it's good again. So if you're an elementalist player, you're happy, but if you're a fire wizard, you're probably not super stoked with the patch. Or if you're a battle wizard with your sword, you're probably also not particularly happy with the outcome.
Yeah. There are definitely some really fun changes to Catalyst, and I'm going to be very interested to see if people start playing it, because, you know, I'm just going to open this up. I'm actually expecting to see Catalyst start to pop up in situations like Harvest Temple's challenge mode groups for sure. This build is a 43k-ish, probably, power build. That is very good, actually. If you have that in your Fractal group and the player executes it correctly, that's going to be pretty disgusting. That is going to be really strong. The same thing in raids as well. That's a lot of damage. Because bear in mind, that 43,000, and Catalyst in a way is less prone to doing this because it almost has like a bit of a ramp up time. Like the rotation for Catalyst kind of takes a while to get through because you have quite a lot of skills to rotate through. But you're gonna kind of blast actually with this if you can pull it off correctly. So it's definitely going to be worth it if you want to kind of put the effort in and get better at it, because it's going to do some serious damage. I'm honestly more excited for the support build, actually, for the quickness build, because finally that 10% modifier is gone. You're now going to kind of apply a permanent Aegis as well, because Spectacular Sphere is now going to apply Aegis when you use your
We don't know what
Earth
the
Sphere.
duration's for, though.
Right. We don't, but I think it will be pretty long. Right? And because you can cast it frequently. It's what, like, you can cast the sphere every 12 seconds with Alacrity.
Yeah, so that's once
maybe
every
not.
12 seconds, probably.
Yeah, so pretty strong, right? That's an Aegis every 12 seconds or so, potentially. It's a very powerful effect to have, in addition to a lot of other boons. I'm a bit sad about the resistance being gone, because I think that's a really, it's a surprisingly powerful thing, and it could be really good in certain encounters. But, you know, maybe we'll see that get tweaked down the line. But I think a super interesting build, actually, if you're into that sort of thing. But again, I think kind of as Nike says here, the elephant in the room here is that, honestly, not many people actually like Catalyst. It's not that it's not good, it's people don't like it. Wait, do you like Catalyst, Lara? You Catalyst enjoyer?
I am actually a Catalyst main,
Ooh.
genuinely.
Ooh.
Wow.
Catalyst
You're a
is
Holosmith.
I don't play in raids very much, but open worlds, Catalyst is my main. Like
Laura
Celestial
hates fire
Catalyst.
wizards, confirmed.
You know what I find wild? They're changing the little orb. The little orb used to just
Yeah.
have a hitbox, and like it used to be really small, so it used to be really finicky, and then they made it bigger, I think.
Yep.
Now it's just gonna be a pulsing AoE. It's basically gonna be a bit like the scrapper AoEs around you, and the orb is just kind of visual. I would have been so happy about that when EOD came out, because I thought it was very finicky to get that orb exactly on the boss. But now I've played Catalyst for like half a year. I think I'm gonna miss it actually now.
I think,
Um,
yeah, that's interesting also because they also buffed the damage from it from 0 damage basically to actually doing damage each time it
Yes.
procs. And I
It's going
think
to
that
pulse
the
like
reason they did-
2,500 or like 2,000 to 2,500 per pulse. is what
Yeah,
people
and I
are
think
saying.
the reason why they had originally reduced those power coefficients on the projectiles down to 0.001 coefficient is because on large hitboxes, it was proccing way more than it was supposed to. And that was representing, what was it, like 30% of the DPS of the Catalyst back then. So at least now they can actually manage how much damage it's actually supposed to do, which is good.
It's gonna be good.
The
I'm really
amount of
excited.
the amount of AoE damage that build is going to have is going to be ridiculous, by the way. Which, I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of in theme with Elementalist. It is the Fire Wizard, right? To an extent, we kind of meme about it, but it kind of is Fire Wizard. And now you are going to annihilate. You're going to stand next to stuff, and things are just going to die, right? It's just going to melt when you have those orbs up. And of course, a lot of Catalyst abilities happen to have a lot of area attacks built into that. Like, that's what Elementalist can bring to the table. So, yeah, I think that should be really, really powerful. It'll be, again, I'm going to be super curious if people end up actually kind of picking it up a little bit. I'm almost a little
I
skeptical.
hope so.
I'm a bit skeptical of it because when Elementalist, this actually wasn't the strongest version of Catalyst. Catalyst actually, kind of on the launch of Ender Dragons, was doing around 47,000 damage per second, and almost nobody played it. Right? Yeah. Oh, Deadeye damage, exactly. And it still wasn't that popular then. So I'm going to be interested. And again, this is why I think we need to see some more patches to Elementalist, because truth be told, the thing is that you might go, wow, Catalyst does a lot of damage. That's crazy. Well, that isn't what actually makes people play builds. If you look at what builds actually see a lot of play, it's stuff like Virtuoso with a zillion invulns and 1200 range, like very solid DPS. It's Scourge, again, tanky, revives people, has barrier. It's Firebrand, loads of utility, heals people, boons people, gives quickness, right? Power Mech, ranged, great utility, really tanky. Like, these are the kind of things that see a lot of play here. And as a result of that, I'm not sure if we're going to see a million Catalysts start to pop up here, to be honest. Because I think if Ellie wants to kind of get back into the Pug meta, not just the high-end meta, then it's going to require some more, it needs to have better utility, like some kind of usefulness. Because right now, it will probably still be a little bit of a do-nothing DPS spec, which I don't think is actually super attractive.
I would say, though, that the boon potential on the boon version of the Catalyst does seem pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that you might be seeing a lot of very good Elementalist players picking that up and trying to just maximize the amount of boons you could get, as well as maybe some healing with some blast finishers and stuff like that.
Well, especially too with quick Firebrand being potentially like less prevalent in the meta or less oppressive in the meta, that there is a hole or in the big picture meta where a quickness hybrid DPS build can come into now and more comfortably. So it'll sort of encourage, like, if you already were good at Firebrand or like decent at Firebrand, you didn't really have any incentive to pick up Catalyst like for boons. But now it could be like, well, Firebrand's only okay and Quick Catalyst is awesome. I guess I'll give it a try, sort of thing. But those people aren't Fire Wizards. Those are quickness players. They're not Fire Wizards. Yeah. And it sort of gets to the thing we always would make fun of Necro mains about, where it's like, yes, my class is good, but it's not good in exactly the way I want it, so I hate it. and I think Ellie mains are now going to be in that reality with the Necro mains.
Because it's not stuff. It's not fire stuff.
It's not exactly fire. Well, some of them are even like they want longbow. They're like, give us a weapon that doesn't even exist,
Icebow,
or else we're not going to be happy. If you don't give us fire longbow camping Ellie,
you can
be
do
happy.
that. Just take the conjure weapon, and then you got your fire longbow camping.
We're back in 2012.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you're a healer too, and you can still provide your boons.
That's big. Yeah. For sure. I think that, the Boon Catalyst build should definitely be one to keep an eye on. It almost finds itself in a somewhat similar position, I think, to Herald, right? And I do think, I think it is fair enough. Like Weaver probably does need a bit of a hand now. Weaver has been left behind a bit. It did actually get a bit more damage this patch because of a trait change. But there's a lot of work to be done here, I think, when it comes to...
They're getting bleeding in addition to their other effects on Shearing Edge.
But yeah, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Connie Weaver. I kind of meme about this, but I feel like I think I've been brainwashed by the Ellie mains, Nike. I need you to break the conditioning. Because then I go, well, hang on a minute. There's a 39k
Okay,
Scepter
but Condi Weaver
build,
fine,
right?
but you're not gonna dip into water for Condi Weaver.
Yeah, I mean, it's you don't even play sword; it's Scepter. So, I mean, yeah, you're definitely not like.
It's pretty rough. I mean, yeah, they don't want whatever Condi Weaver is. They reject that.
Yeah.
I think, like, honestly, like, to be fair to them, they want Tempest to play staff, and they want Weaver to play sword, and Weaver to be power sword and good, and they want Tempest to be staff, and that's exactly how. And they don't want
the old builds, the old school builds.
They do want, like, if you could, like, Thanos snap Fresh Air Staff Tempest 46k DPS back into existence, they would be very happy. They would probably actually stop crying. It would be great.
What do you
I
guys
want
think
that
about
now.
Dragon's Tooth attaching to the target now?
Oh.
Do you know what I like about this? This is amazing. This is amazing. So, because they've changed the Dragon's Tooth, I have a theory that it's also changed every single NPC in the game that casts Dragon's Tooth.
Oh, so when you like,
Yeah.
you're gonna have like 6 Dragon's Tooths chasing you around. It's gonna be great.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, you know, this is funny, but it's also a little bit sad. I'm just thinking about the totally new player that encounters like level 8, you know, Flame Legion Shaman or whatever, and the Dragon's Tooth just follows them. If it casts a Dragon's Tooth, and it just like boom, just destroys them.
Wait,
They're like, no,
so
what's
I didn't
going
actually.
on?
I'm
Yeah.
only reading the notes. I didn't actually get to see the stream. Did they show it on stream that it actually follows as they're moving?
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
it does.
It's just on your heads, basically.
Oh my goodness.
It's like a little hat floating above you that eventually drops no matter where you are. But let's be honest, it's ANET, it's spaghetti code. It's equally likely that the old Dragon's Tooths don't change whatsoever on the NPCs, and it's also even equal to that likely that something will break and those Dragon's Tooths will do 0 damage or 1,000,000 damage.
What you're gonna do is you're
Like,
gonna
never
walk
know.
underneath a little tent in World versus World, and it's gonna be obstructed.
Yeah, something will happen. Interesting.
It's pretty interesting stuff. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about PvE, and I think PvE is definitely the game mode that's most affected by this. And, well, actually, I guess World vs. World 2 with the Firebrand changes. But, yeah, there's honestly some pretty fun stuff happening in PvP. Like, Chrono's back, so they tone it down a little bit. They're really trying to push Fresh Air Weaver, with Scepter being a super aggressive combo-oriented weapon now. Really fun playstyle on that, actually. Like, the second and third skill have a synergy every single time on all the Scepter skills now. You want to use the second one, then the third one, and combo them together. It's a really cool idea for a weapon, particularly seeing as the build that you would play it on, the Fresh Air Burst Weaver build. Well, you know, that's the entire point, right? It's like mega combo oriented, so that's a really cool rework there as well. I think that's
Grimjack
also
a lot of
interesting
Scepter
very
stuff,
happy.
right?
It's also interesting that finally those water traits that have been in the water trait line for forever, that are damage boosts when you're in water, that nobody really takes because you don't go into water to do damage. Now you could actually you could take and play with.
Yeah. There have been some incredibly illegal Ellie builds that I think have tried to abuse this, particularly ones that go for massive burst. But yeah, for sure.
You front load everything and then switch into water.
Yeah. I think that opening up more kind of hybrid options for Ellie is really powerful. Elementalist has a great strength, that it has innate versatility, right? Like, you always have water, you always have earth, which typically have some kind of defensive abilities on it. And I think allowing Elementalist players to lean into that a little bit more, I think it's actually really good. That's how you kind of get a Firebrandier Ellie. That's how you get a Scourgier Ellie, which I think is kind of the direction, or at least having that option available for players, I think is a really important thing. So yeah, making sure that all the trait lines, especially the Arcane trait line. For example, there's a really cool build right now, which is the Alacrity Hybrid Tempest, and it runs the Arcane trait line. That's a build, actually, because you have support from Tempest, wash the pain away, and you, of course, have boons, protection from your Overload, you have Might and so on, boon extension, all that kind of great stuff, Water Overload for healing, and you also give protection when you swap in Arcane. You give Swiftness as well, of course, you have the Revive trait. That is, like, to me, that's kind of how Ellie can be made great again. Like some of these really powerful hybrid builds that have solid damage and really good support. Like a few changes to the arcane trait line and buffing some of the utility skills. I think I'll be very, very strong for Ellie, actually. It's pretty cool.
I have a question.
Go.
About the mechanist real quick. You know the trait that they're changing that makes it so that combat attribute bonuses to the mech are now reduced by 50% if you're more than 360 away?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
How likely on launch do you think it'll be that it'll be kind of like the symbol trait for, was it Firebite? No, or it was for Dragon Hunter that was bugged on first release, and that it like gave you 10% for each Guardian that was fighting, for each symbol that a Guardian.
Oh, so you think that
so all the
if one person is near all the mechs, they're all good, and then the other mechanists can stand wherever they want?
Or that for each mechanist standing next to a mech, it gets all.
Oh yeah,
of their
so if you have 10
attributes.
mechs, you get like 36,000 power.
Exactly.
Sounds pretty
Everyone's quickly clearing harvest.
Yeah, there's going to be
symbols,
some
yeah,
new
that
Void
they're-
Walkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is big. That is
Good.
big. I can definitely see some bugs happening. Although, you know what? Okay, let's see how well this ages. I think after the last patch, they're being a lot more careful. Because the last patch was a bit of a mess, let's be honest. There was some proper broken shit that is a little unacceptable. Right, you know, traits just not working. Mech got buffed instead of nerfed, right? All this kind of stuff, right? Like game-breaking bugs. Sometimes Thief just doesn't have steal anymore for some reason, or just you can't use your stolen skills randomly. All sorts of like bizarre things happened last time. They're probably gonna be a little bit more careful.
Black Citadel extra
oh, yeah.
core.
Extra core Black Citadel. That's true. That is big. Yeah, they're gonna be a bit more careful, I think, with kind of those changes.
Well,
Overall.
it's how big this patch is, because we've been talking about it for a while, and there's like lots of elite specs we haven't even mentioned yet.
Yeah.
Like Mirage is
They
getting
don't deserve it.
changed. Like Stacks is kind of dead now.
That's fine.
It's like the big Deadeye changes that we haven't even talked about yet. There's loads of stuff in this patch. It's big.
There is. It's a huge patch. I don't think we have to go over every single
Yeah.
detail here. Kind of the more notable things. I think Stacks is pretty notable actually. That was
Do
almost
you think people
interesting
played
build.
that? No one played that in practice.
That was nerf for high level. You know, I
Yeah.
think we talked about how they didn't nerf. They're not nerfing stuff just because it's played at high level. But yeah, this was exclusively to prevent Mirage from being hyper abused at super high level play, which is kind of interesting that they did. They kind of slid that in there. It's weird because on the one hand, I actually really like the idea of that build. It's kind of cool that you can have different clones to your current weapon. You can actually manipulate what clones you want to get whatever ambush you want. But on the other hand, it was also broken. So it's like, okay. It's a little bit hard to figure out what you want to do with this. It's hard to handle. But yeah. It did get nerfed. Do we want to talk
But
about
It's
the
just like
Pure staff camping, Alack.
it's actually big buff. Yeah, actually a lot more alacrity. 2.5 seconds up to 4 baseline with 3 clones.
Maybe people will
So-
start playing it in open world. Let's see it.
I mean, it's ridiculously strong. Like that build is insane. Because you take any Mesmer build that takes chaos by default is kind of disgusting. I'm not gonna lie. You have perma all boons on yourself. You give million boons to everyone around you. You have stability all the time. You're a Mesmer, so you have good utility skills as well. It's ranged. The build is disgusting. Like yeah. Look, you should play Alack Mirage, especially in open world, because that means I get alacrity in open world. Okay, yeah, that's good. So you better do it.
Now it kind of does that thing that a mechanist does, where the Mirage doesn't necessarily have to be on the group all the time if the clones are on the group.
Well, no,
Oh, I
because
think
the
it's around
boons.
the-
Opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Oh, it's
around
on.
the
It's
player
always on the
still.
Mesmer.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
always
okay.
on the Mesmer. Yeah.
That's probably good.
Wrong, Boots. I have to bring the
Sorry.
Brazil meme back. Wrong. Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to happen once in a while. I've been missing that.
I think the final really interesting change was, well, I guess Berserker got fixed. That was the other interesting change. But that's
Well,
not that
sort of.
interesting, I guess.
I have a thought about that.
Okay, what do you got?
So the thing, and they correctly identified that was ugly with Berserker was the headbutt outrage thing, and how if you had stab, you could like destroy yourself. So they were like, okay, now we'll make it so that if you have stab, it doesn't like ruin your life, but you still have to play headbutt outrage to play. Like the class isn't Berserker, the class is headbutt and outrage. Like that's what the class is. Like it's like the entire class mechanic is headbutt and outrage, and we're still forced to do that. Granted, they removed the pain point that made it unplayable, but you're still forced into a playstyle that's not very good.
Unlucky.
Yeah, but what is good is Hammer Warrior.
That is true, actually.
Yeah.
Hammer Warrior is very legit, and I'm going to prove it right now.
Oh, here we go.
Wow.
Oh, shit! Legendary bought, actually, instantly, probably swiped.
Wow, insta
Yeah.
Yep,
I can
there you
see
go.
the comments right now because you instabot, and right now there's people going like,
Yeah, so yeah, Hammer Spellbreaker is going to be the truth and the light, and it's going to lead people to the land of milk and honey. Yep.
I mean, that is going to be a powerful build. I think it's a build that people want to play too. It's like the opposite of Catalyst. People want to play Hammer Warrior. They want to be a Hammer Warrior main, I think. So that's good.
Yeah. If you can't carry Breakbar with that, then just give up. Your group isn't working out.
I like this unsuspecting foe change.
The crit in the
Dude,
arms trait line. Yeah, it's
Yeah, 25% critical chance bonus.
Eventually,
all the time.
people will play arms. Eventually,
yeah, exactly.
just keep throwing traits in there.
Yeah.
Arms has like what now? Like if you play that, you get like 30% crit chance, like just baked in.
It's
And
pretty
are we
big.
gonna have 5 Signet Warrior being meta?
Oh, yes. Very good. Oh. I guess the final change after the warrior stuff is the sniper.
oh,
The
Deadeye. Deadeye sniper gaming.
Yep. The dark fire wizards, essentially.
Yeah, you've So the thing about this one is I think they were really torn on handling this cross game mode because I think they wanted to give Deadeye a little bit more mobility in PvE with the rifle, which that makes sense, right? Like not being able to move is pretty bad, right? In Guild Wars 2, that's like not great.
Bladesworn hates that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bladesworn kind of counters it by having some ports, right? That's the way. And you could almost maybe do the same thing with Deadeye, I guess. You could give like it has a teleport when you're
Thief
kneeling,
doesn't
but
have any
it's a weird
teleports.
one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Thief can barely move, right? Like it's very immobile. But I think they were really worried about it in PvP. And I think that's probably why the range came down on certain abilities, because I think they were very concerned about Deadeye becoming very problematic. It is one of those specializations that can be absolutely disgusting in comparative game modes and kind of really uninteractive. And it's funny actually that people made the immediate comparison to Longbow Ranger, and actually yes, Longbow Ranger is kind of the same in PvP. Anyone who's played PvP has probably got memed by Soul Beast at least once.
Especially world versus world roaming.
Yeah, especially in roaming. Oh my god, Soul Beast is so insane in that game mode actually.
Well, I mean, to be fair, for Deadeye, the changes for world versus world roaming, for me, is not so bad, because I used to run a Celestial Deadeye that spammed the number 2 Immobilize, just non-stop spamming Immobilize at 1500 range. So even if you're a ranged character, you can't do anything to it, and it's not good gameplay, and it's not fun for anybody.
I'm kind of excited. I feel like I'm the only person who is excited, but I actually really like Rifle Deadeye. I love playing it on like Kadim 1, Kadim 2. I'm excited to be able to like kite Kadim 2 and then like walk out of AoEs like smoothly. I feel like it would just make Rifle Deadeye. Yeah,
I could just see
slowly.
I could see a Deimos like the oil spawns.
Just
and you see, like,
very slowly.
Four people slowly trying to get out of the oil.
It would be better than before.
Yeah, there's gonna be.
I'm
4, 'cause
excited
it's
to try.
meta-defining.
Yeah.
I saw some people on like the subreddit being like, Deadeye should not be able to move. It's part of the
The
like
RP.
I understand that people are a bit sad about the range reduction. Kind of affects the RP, right? But I'm just happy about the moving. I saw some people like they should not be able to move, and I'm just kind of excited to try it out. I want to see what it's like in the game. Will I be able to walk out of Deimos oil fast enough? I feel like honestly Deadeye should be more playable in raids after this. I feel like it will be more effective.
I'm not sure if it's going to help that much. I'm not going to lie.
Tiny bit.
A tiny bit. Yeah.
25% is
not.
really, you're really slow.
Super
Yeah.
speed though.
It is
Yeah.
roleplay walking. So like every time you see out in the world, maybe in what's that place? Oh man, in the Iron Marches, the old Ascalon. What's the town called again? I can't believe nobody's.
Wait,
Someone's got to say.
Wait, what?
the Iron
the
March
whole-
is town. Oh, Ebonhawk?
Yeah.
Wait, but isn't that
Ebonhawk.
that's in Fields of Ruin though?
Fields
no?
of Ruin.
Fields of Ruin. Sorry, Fields of Ruin.
Ooh,
That's
wrong.
where another wrong. There we go.
Yeah.
Twice in one day. That is where you find a lot of the RP going on in the game. You walk through
Really?
Ebonhawk and yeah. I see a
Oh.
lot of people RPing there. But now it's just going to be Deadeyes walking around.
What
because
kind of
that's-
RP?
It's a good question, actually. I've never seen any of the more lewd stuff. It's always just like this person crosses their arms and then talks about I think it's a bar in Ebonhawk that they're at.
I
Okay,
lean
yeah.
back against the counter with my wolf named Shadow.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
there was a lot of expertise there. I think
I used the RP actually.
there you go. Boom.
Exposed.
There it is.
Mhm.
Confirmed RP.
But yes, you should play Dagger Deadeye if you want to be a pump god,
That's true.
because that's the build.
Yeah.
And if you guys are new to Guild Wars 2 and you didn't play in vanilla days, Backstab, very satisfying skill. Cloak and Dagger Backstab, it definitely,
Boom.
it's good.
Yeah, I think for Deadeye, you're gonna go dagger. Maybe have rifle as a ranged option when when you're unable to melee, for example, or something like that. I think Lara said the word super speed, and this is true. I cannot wait to see if this
Oh.
interaction actually works.
Yeah.
Because super speed kind of cancels out slows a lot of the time in Guild Wars 2. So in theory, unless they've specifically thought of this, Deadeyes with Neil with super speed will be able to basically run around at full speed, which is
That
pretty
would
funny.
be so good.
And yeah, is pretty. It's gonna have this like absolutely insane synergy between Scrapper, because obviously Scrapper applies permanent super speed, a quickness Scrapper,
Yeah.
in PvE. And then you combine that with the Deadeye, and you're gonna be zooming all over the place, right?
But
So again,
also, don't you get
Yeah.
a speed buff for going in stealth as a Deadeye?
I think isn't that in Shadow?
Or
Arts?
it's just in the core in Shadow Arts, yeah. But
Yeah.
and then also you could go Zephyrite runes that when you use
Oh.
elite skill you get super speed, and so you use your Deadeye elite skill, which puts you in removes revealed and makes you invisible, and you're gonna be moving faster in Neil than you would otherwise.
I'm honestly a little bit sad that when they walk while like kneading, they just get up and like RP walk. I was really just watching that stream and hoping they would like crouch walk,
like a full
So
crawl
sad.
animation.
Yeah. That's not there,
The
unfortunately.
Char would like drag their butts on the ground like a dog. That would be so funny.
Missed opportunity, clearly.
It is.
Yeah, I can definitely see a custom animation being added at some point. I imagine they just wanted to make the change and they weren't able to get a custom animation there this time. But yeah, I think certainly possible at some point. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I think watching out for that particular interaction could be really funny. I think they could maybe even split this. For example, I don't know if they can, but if they could split it so you maybe have 50% movement speed reduction in PvE. That means you could still move a lot and then keep it at 75% in PvP, because again, that's where they're really worried about it. Like, I know that not a lot of people play Deadeye in PvP, and that's partially because of the prevalence of Elementalist right now, I would say. That which actually did get nerfed a bit, so that might shake things up. But basically, obviously, Deadeye is a sniper, right? So it fires a lot of projectiles. It turns out that if you have 1 million swirling winds, 1 billion magnetic auras, it's pretty hard to get value out of Deadeye, right? You kind of get shut down by that type of build pretty effectively. Also, if there's a Necromancer, for example, can take Corrosive Poison Cloud, which can be very problematic for you. But make no mistake, Deadeye has the potential to be absolutely terrifying in the right hands if the metagame is right for it. And I think they're being cautious there, and they're probably not wrong to be cautious here, because you don't want something like that unleashed for like 3 months, just completely annihilating the meta, right? We've already seen this with Spectre, right? I mean, look, do we really want to see triple Spectre again, guys? I don't really think so, to be honest with you. Not exactly great. That was fun and engaging for PvP for a good chunk of time. So yeah, they're being cautious there, I think, but I think they'll definitely look at it again and continue to iterate upon this for Deadeye.
I wonder why they didn't split the range. Because honestly, I feel like if there's one piece of criticism I'm seeing about this patch right now on like social media, it's mostly people talking about the Deadeye range reduction, which again I sort of speculated about like why that might be yesterday, and I think it has to be like PvP. I don't really think it's a huge issue in PvE.
No, it's PvP.
Yeah, so like I'm surprised they didn't like just reduce it in PvP, World versus World, and keep it the same in PvE. I wonder if maybe they can't, if it's hard, like if that's not a split they can do. Or maybe they just want to keep it consistent, you know, not have too many splits there.
I don't think they can. I think there are certain things that can't be changed. Spectre, for example.
Why not? If they're able to change it from 1500 to 1200, why can't they just split it?
Well,
might be just some way their splitting technology works. Where they can like split some things, but maybe not the range. I don't know. I don't know how their system works at all.
Well, I think that some characteristics of an ability might not be splittable. For example, I don't think they can split stuff like cast time. I think. I don't think they can. They can't split the Spectre Shroud, right? Otherwise, they would have done, right? Because Spectre has the same shroud percentage, right, in PvE and PvP. There is no way they wouldn't have just reverted it in PvE and put it back to where it was if they could have, right?
There are a lot of weird things about the coding in the game. Like, for example, you know how back in the day, stomping was affected by quickness?
Yes.
And now it's not?
That was content. The Resma, the classic Boots build.
My favorite build. But now you could still do that, in fact. In the Clockwork Chaos, in Scarlet's whatever thing, if you kill the Watch Knights and then those Watch Knights die, they have like a little thing you're supposed to stomp, like a little mechanical thing. That stomp is still affected by quickness.
How about
that? I have like the most wild thing. The other day, like this has nothing to do with balance, but I was looking at my guild log, and suddenly I was seeing that I got a lot more influence in my guild, which is this old ancient like currency for guilds. And I was like, how is all this influence suddenly showing up? I think that's in the Battle for Lion's Arch. They just kept the old loot table, so there's like an item dropping that gives your guild influence.
Yes, there's that,
like
and
that.
Also I got dropped an iron mace, of Sentinel's iron mace, of which there are only like 2 on the trading post right now. So someone's trying to sell one for 500 gold, and I was like, I don't want to lose 25 gold for trying to list that, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it's still on the trading post mine for 10 gold now.
It's a nice piece of nostalgia, getting influence for your guild again with an item. It's good.
It's fun. The archaic currency. That really it really brought me back, actually, because I was like, yes, I remember the days of 100% rep or kick. Because of course you had to represent the guild to generate influence for it. So people were really draconian about it. It's probably one of the reasons why they removed it, was because, they'd be like, you have to represent our guild and do events with us. Otherwise, we destroy you.
I like that.
Yeah? I think that's how it should be.
That's old school MMO gaming.
Can I just say, by the way,
classic WoW experience.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, Guild Wars 2, the original Guild Wars 2, it was a harsh place. It was a harsh environment. You go into Ascalonian Catacombs and maybe you don't get past the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen probably won a lot back then.
did.
Yeah, whereas now not so much. We've moved on. You know, back then the Spider Queen was hard. Now you have to fight a god or something, right?
There was a guy in your chat a month ago when you're doing Zero to Hero,
Yeah.
who was like, I can't get into dungeons. And I go, I'll do a dungeon with you right now, dude. And so we did Ascalonian Catacombs, one of the, I think, Path 3. And we had me, him, and 3 first-time amateurs who were like level 20 something. And the Spider Queen was a definite challenge for this group of players. Like, I was like, please kill this thing. And like, literally no one's attacking the thing that I'm targeting. It was good.
Yeah,
Chaos.
I think the issue is that, like, until that Spider Queen, if you're level 30, there's nothing you need to dodge until then, except for that one ring to get the chest.
Oh, this is kind of what we talked about last week for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Kind of good.
Well, that Spider Queen also is like all projectiles. It's like a room full of spiders that spit projectiles at you. So if you just put up like one feedback or wall of reflect, you've trivialized the entire encounter. But
Spider has been counted.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But if you're level 30, what's the likelihood that you actually unlock?
Yeah, exactly. So it's quite a challenge.
It's big. I like that.
Speaking of like old Guild Wars 2, Old Lion's Arch is back. And
yes,
I was
the
right.
Superior Lion's Arch.
Yes,
I was right. Last week on Tea Time, I was like, Lion's Memory, this has to be it. And then 2 days later, bam, it was actually an Old Lion's Arch launch boss. I feel vindicated. There were people in the chat last week who were like, Lara, if you think they're gonna give that to you for free, you're crazy. And then they just did it 2 days later. I'm so
Actually,
happy.
I think it was you that made it happen. I think they were. It wasn't going to be that. It was just going to be like, it was just going to be a picture that you look at and then you eat and give you karma. And then when you said it on stream, they're like, hey, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Made it happen in 2 days.
It could have been a music box that played the by Ogden's Hammer What Savings Techno remix.
That would have been a
the guy
funny
made.
meme. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's good though. It's like I've been back there a bit and it's really nostalgic. I'm just like getting all these memories back.
Do you get sent to the same instance as the other people that are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's everybody.
It's like a full city. You can use
there must be some serious RP happening in there. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. It's the place to RP now.
Yeah, kinda. It's actually kind of strange because it's kind of this launch boss that's like sort of being gate kept only to people who do achievements. So you only have like the people who are like really hardcore achievement hunting. Well, it's not super hardcore, but
well, I'm not an achievement hunter, but I fast moded those as soon as it came. Like I had to go back and I did all of the achievements because I hadn't done any of them before. And yeah, I even soloed a bunch of fractals to get those achievements. And then it was worth it, I think. I've only been in there for 5 minutes so far, but I intend to spend a lot more time in there.
It's really
Old Lion's
cool.
Arch is like an old, nice, walkable neighborhood with like what we call it, multi-tier zoning, where you have like bottom floor stores, top floor apartments. It's a really nice neighborhood. And New Lion's Arch is like they built like a 6-lane highway right to the middle of it. A bunch of
very
big box
much Europe
stores
versus North America situation.
Yeah, New Lion's Arch is Houston. Old Lion's Arch is like Copenhagen. Like big difference.
Also there's like no mounts and gliders.
That's true. Because it's a memory of Lion's Arch.
Yeah,
it's a real memory.
I think you could probably make it happen, but maybe they just kept it like that for the authenticity, you know? So it's very strange. It's literally like you're back in 2012. There's people standing at the bank showing off their legendaries and stuff. There's literally there's like 5 people standing around the Ogden's Hammer guy, and then when he goes like, "What savings?" everyone's like cheering. It's pretty awesome.
Whatever happened to because the Lion's Arch, Attack the Lion's Arch, you know, they did a lot of structural damage, right? To it was all very shoddy craftsmanship ships anyway, right? So it was easy to destroy. But there was sewers in Lion's Arch originally, like really in-depth navigable sewers system.
Yeah.
That should still exist, right? In current Lion's Arch, it's just not there.
Probably just close the holes. Yeah.
It could have collapsed. Maybe it collapsed.
That's a shame.
You want to get into the sewers? Boots?
Yeah, I want to get into the sewers. They were fun.
Yeah. So you want to?
You want to be a Morlock? Start a Morlock society?
Yeah.
In the Underverse.
Emerge after 2,000 years and everything's changed. Yeah, I want that.
Okay.
New guild hall. Lines are
Like-
super.
I remember there was a like a personal story quest that went into the sewers, and it spawned like rats infinitely.
oh,
Hmm.
And you could set your like, and everyone was doing the weapon master achievements by just like AFKing and killing
Wow.
rats for like 8 hours
Wait, what-
overnight.
was that for the Halloween stuff actually?
No, that was a different one. There's an
Ah,
instance
okay.
that also had rats in Halloween, and you threw the Halloween potions, and it turned everything
Oh
into
yeah,
smell
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but they also had a really cool Order of Whispers location in the Old Lions Arch. That didn't
Honestly,
work.
like I used to be like, oh, both Lines Arch have got some nice parts, but Old Lines Arch just now that I've been back, just better.
Yeah.
I like it way more.
Yeah.
It's like
Is it
It
a smaller
feels-
map too?
no, the map. I think the map is about the same size. Some people actually are like, wait, is it bigger just because there's no mounts, so it feels bigger? It takes a
Me,
longer
it
time to
feels
like run
smaller.
around. I think it's supposed to be the exact same.
Huh.
But something that I found really cool about it, it feels more social. Like because everyone's kind of like stuck together in this tiny area instead of being spread out over this like massive empty space. So I know I've actually like been talking to people and stuff. It's like, wow, I haven't had a conversation with anyone in Lions Arch for like years, but
Yeah.
Talking to
kinda
other
love Lines
people.
Arch. yeah, it's weird. I thought this was a single player game.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Probably not too many people spamming Matt chat for guild invites and stuff like that there.
No, but there are people talking in map chats even, and
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
everyone's just making Octon's hammer jokes, honestly. But there is actually people hanging out there now.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I'm ready for the VIP pass to get sold. That's coming. That's my
Think
prediction.
so.
That's not exactly even my prediction. That's a very generic prediction. They've got to do it, right? Well, maybe they won't
No,
because
this
they
was it. They just did this. It was either or, I think.
then they're gonna. I guess they'd have to actually create something, right? And they probably don't want to modify it anyway. They'd have to add something to it, to make like a special area. So maybe not. Maybe not. That's gonna be the case. But
They could do like a themed one. It's like Old Lions Arch theme, where it's like the same size as like the Mistlock Sanctuary, but it's like the architecture is Old Lions Arch theme.
yeah,
So it has vibe.
a
but it
memorial.
doesn't-
Yeah, it's kind of like a in remembrance of Old Lions Arch, the better times before
Don't you think
Scarlet.
they would have done it like now though? I feel they're kind of done with season 1 now.
Yeah,
Like if they were going to do that, I feel
Well,
they
they
would have done it
gotta
now.
fill the content. I mean, they got to put stuff in the gem store from now till February
That's
or
true.
whenever.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
I do like the fact that season 1 is back now. I think that's good. It's all
And
back.
we can move past.
Can
We
move
can-
past. Next thing is going to be the new Cantha map. Ooh, exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I was disappointed in? And I was actually pretty disappointed in this. There's no Battle on the Breachmaker in the Battle for Lions Arch event, the Dragonstorm thing.
It's just in the story now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Which is
but
like I was
feels
scared it was
bad.
entirely gone, but yeah, just it feels very strange, doesn't it? You go into the meta and you capture all these areas and then you kill stuff and you're like, oh, we're gonna go up, and then it just ends. And you're like, oh
Yeah.
wait, what? Or so we gonna go up as well? Kind
I
of
think they were very smart to change it. Actually, if they'd added the original Battle for Lions Arch, I think people would have actually had their illusion shattered very very abruptly. I think because all of it was like run around, talk to NPCs, and put out fires for like 20 minutes, and then you fight the Watch Knights. Right? It wasn't good, right? Let's be honest. Like, Son of Living season 1 was a bit scuffed. That was definitely part of it. The Watch Knight fight was actually really cool, though. I love the fact that they're similar to the Strike missions. They have like the same attacks as the Strike mission bosses, and you still have the kind of attunements there. But yeah, I was definitely a little bit disappointed that we didn't get an open world, instance open world thing, 50 player version of that. I was looking forward to that, and it's in story, so there is that, of course. But I was really hyped for that because I think that was a really cool fight. I remember playing through that in season 1, and yeah, sure,
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't hold up perfectly. It's probably a little easier now with all the power creep and so on. But it'd been really cool to have that back in the open world too, as like a culminate, an epic finale to the story of season 1. But can't get them all, I guess. I can't complain too much. Maybe I can. Maybe I should complain.
No, I agree. It was like I was doing it. I was like, oh, it was just like I was really hyped to go up, but just everything combined. I think this was a top tier patch. Like there was
Agreed.
just a lot of stuff in here. So
Mm-hmm.
even if they didn't get this part, there was like, there was the new strike, there was like the story coming back. They brought back Old Lion's Arch, which made me really happy.
You redo the
Um,
marionette.
yeah, they put the marionettes in the story, which was like,
Yeah.
whoa, really? I was pretty impressed because like back in like season 1, this story was just a lot of like random tiny things that they randomly put in the game, and they sort of managed to merge it into a somewhat satisfying episode. I think they did quite a good job with it, actually.
Agreed.
Good patch.
Good patch indeed. And I guess there's one final thing, and I guess we should have talked about this a little bit earlier. What do you guys make of the fact that even though it's in the core game, the strike mission actually counts as an Ender Dragon strike mission for all of the achievement purposes, in the daily purposes, and even the rewards, which is kind of cool for core players, actually. I mean, it's going to take you a long time, but you can, in theory, get some Ascended gear, actually, by
Well,
doing
it makes me-
the core strike mission.
It makes me feel like we're only going to have 7 strikes before the next expansion.
Wait, you
Otherwise, the
think?
daily calendar is going to get like really weird.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's
I
true.
see another strike, at least one coming with the Living World Season 5, probably.
I would hope there's a strike with every episode.
Yeah, that would be the
That would be-
dream.
that's
Be
the
so
dream.
They have
good.
time.
Oh, it'd be so good.
That'd be the dream.
That would be so good if they could do that.
But yeah, it'll be weird to have like let's say there's 9 strikes by the end of the season. Like
Mhm.
you're gonna go over a week without the one being the daily. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, they're gonna have. Well, I mean, I guess that's okay, right? If you don't have if not every strike is every week, I think that's okay.
They could start
I
making
think-
2 strikes being a daily.
True. You know what you could
Like
do,
big.
either or, right? It could be an either or situation where you don't have to do all of them. It definitely makes me wonder if they're going to maybe ditch the idea of strikes even being tied to expansions and just kind of unifying them. Because if you think about it, then they'd have to do like, oh yeah, core strike missions, so like have a red crystal. They could have, Path of Fire strike missions if they add Balthazar back or Joko back or something like that, and they make it a purple crystal. I wonder if they're just going to unify it a bit like raids and say, okay, it's magnetite shards. It's going to be profit crystals for strike missions.
I think they will, but the new let's say when they come, if they stick with strikes for the new expansion, when that happens, there will be a new currency just for that, because obviously the thing they want to get away from is people saving their currency from old stuff and just buying everything they want day one. So most likely there'll be like a thing where new expansion comes out, new currency. Then after like a couple years, they flatten it and they just merge the old everything together.
Yeah, that makes
Exactly.
sense to me.
It's big. Very very interested to see what comes next, actually. Like, this entire patch has really got me feeling very optimistic, actually. Like, the breadth of the patch, right? The scope of the patch, I think, was really impressive. And if we continue seeing this kind of stuff going into the new year, I think we've got a long way to go, right? I think that the thing that in some way has really been highlighted from this patch is how this is going to sound really maybe a little bit too mean. Listen, don't flame me. It really lets us know how fucked up the game really is. It is going to take them years of doing patches like this to actually have the game in a spot where I'd go, oh yeah, the game is actually pretty well designed and doesn't really have any glaring design issues. It's going to be a long one because they've got so many more elite specializations. They've got so many old strike missions to maybe bring back so that they have strike missions kind of scattered throughout all the expansions, which they definitely want to do, by the way. Have Mordramoth back, have Balthazar back, at least one per expansion, right? To have that consistency. Because think about right now, we have strike mission in the end of the core game, right? In season 1. And then nothing until Icebrood Saga. That's pretty weird, right? That is very unusual if you're playing through it linearly. They probably want to fix that at some point.
You got raids, though.
Well, you got raids, yeah.
That's true. But I guess you have raids, so it kind of works. You have season 1 with a strike mission, then HOT and Path of Fire raids, then back to strike missions for EOD. Yeah. Okay. I stand corrected. I'll actually give you that. That's a good point.
I actually found it pretty well that this strike was like basically entirely new. Like, I was expecting it to be based off that Scarlet's fight, on the Breachmaker with like the humans and stuff. I was thinking like, oh, they'll just take that and rework it a little bit, and then you've got a strike. But they sort of like came up with something entirely new. All the mechanics are basically weren't in the original season 1. So it makes me wonder if it might actually be easier for them to make a new strike from the ground up instead of like getting old content and then trying to rework that into a strike. I'm not sure.
It's-
I was not
It probably
expecting
is
them to
easier.
do this.
It probably is
Yeah.
easier. I'm not gonna lie. I bet it's a complete spaghetti all over the place. Yeah.
Like if they turned like the Mordremoth fight at the end of HOT into a strike, like they would have to just rebuild that
Yeah,
from
it
scratch
was
because
so
that fight
buggy.
is like
Yeah, it's already
it
so
still
broken.
has bugs.
Yeah.
And it's horrible.
I still think
Oh,
that I would
man.
like to see them redesign the Zai-10 fight.
Yeah, they should definitely do that. It's one of the most anticlimactic things in gaming, actually. You know, in any game.
Something I find wild though is every time I watch like a new player, you know, when there's like a new player like streaming for the game, they always actually are like impressed by it. There's always streamers going like, "Wow, that was
Visually,
so
it's really
cool."
impressive. Visually,
There's
it's
this
fantastic.
big disconnect I feel between like us, you know, having seen the cool shit after, and people that see it for the first
No,
time.
there were people that hated it at the time when it was
That's
brand
true.
new.
That
That
is
were
true.
like, this is dog.
I think another issue with it is okay. So visually, it's very impressive, and us all at core game when we first played it. For now, these people who are playing it probably are seeing Zai-10 for the first time. For
True,
us,
yeah.
unfortunately, we all saw the commercial that was released right before Guild Wars 2 came out that included Zai-10,
Yes.
the
Oh.
final boss, flying through the sky. So we were already spoiled. And then also on top of that, the combat mechanics weren't that interesting. So yeah, it was a bit of a letdown.
Yeah. Certainly, yeah, from a cinematic perspective, maybe if you're, you know, you're really in it for the story, that could be considered pretty cool. You know, you're on a ship blasting the dragon down. I think what they could do is similar with Season 1, because wasn't this actually heavily implied by kind of data mine stuff and things that people figured out about the game, that was supposed to be a Phase 2 of Zai-10? You'd kind of shoot him down and
You're
then
supposed to go, like,
actually
into a
yeah,
raw or something
yeah,
like that,
and
fight
then
him on the
actually
ground.
and fight the dragon on the ground. They could actually just add that into the game potentially, right? As a strike
That's
mission. for
true,
the
and
end
they
of the
could
story.
actually make
Yeah.
if they did that, and then in the fight of Zai-10 the first time, just reduce the amount of times you have to hit it with the laser. It'll be less boring, that section. You could just get through that really quickly, and then go to the more interesting fight afterwards. They wouldn't have to change that fight; just reduce the amount of times you have to hit it.
That's
I don't
would
think
be
they're going to
very
invest
cool.
any resources in going back to any of that stuff.
Fair enough.
I think they're done, and
I mean,
they're
probably.
moving on with the future.
Yes.
Yeah. If it was going to happen, it was probably going to happen before the Steam release.
Exactly.
I gotta say though, I'm just so happy Harvest Temple CM exists. So you know, I actually like struggled fighting against Zai-10 for like many days. So in my
So
head
you had that
canon,
experience.
yes. He's not just a pushover. He's actually
Yes.
strong.
The Giants, though, you know, like
Yes.
if those were in the story, wow. Okay, now that would be big. You know, they just run in. I like how they go very fast, just charge at you, just scream and knock you off the platform. Right, that is big. The Giants are a pretty big threat. I think that is a good place to wrap things up. You know, it's time for us to depart, but don't worry. A lot of people here will still be around. You know, Nike is vanishing into the ether from whence he came, but Boots and Lara, it's time for part 2. They're going again in just a few moments. So let's
break.
So,
let's get the hell out of here. Okay, Planet's killed HTCM 3 times today. Like, players actually addicted
Wow.
to HTCM. This guy's unhinged. He's going full unhinged mode. And honestly, I like that. But anyway, I think it's about time to wrap things up around here. Before I go and commentate some GBG. Whoa, incredible. But what an exciting tea time. Talking about balance, talking about strike missions, the future of the game. Talking about many things. Exciting stuff, my friends. So, thanks everyone for watching. We'll, of course, be back in just a few moments here. But, of course, before that, there'll be a short break and a little bit of selling out just about now. So, let's just get into that without any further delays. No more stalling. Okay, maybe I will stall, though, actually. That's a very tea time thing to do, I suppose. But anyway, returning again, me and Boots, you know, we've sorted out our beef. We actually had we'll actually record this. Maybe we'll upload this on, but we had a boxing match. We had a fight, just a proper brutal fight there.
Pay-per-view.
Yeah. So maybe we're going to have to kind of get that out there. We're going to get that on the Patreon, maybe. Pay-per-view kind of situation, because, you know, things were definitely said there. It was an intense drama, but, you know, it's all cool now, right? It's been we sell it in the ring, okay? Tell us about Heel Spectre.
It's good. Well, not as good as it could be. So fuck that shit. But also, got a channel of World of Enders over on YouTube, and I'll probably return to it after the November patch and have to remake all of my Firebrand builds. So stay tuned for that.
Very nice. And this time, boom, got the link correct in the chat. There it is. Check it out, gamers. Get in there. And of course, these links to everyone, they'll be below in the YouTube video as well, and of course below the stream. So click them, go big, click the buttons, follow, subscribe, watch all that stuff. Next up, that's right, it's Lara. Boom. Strike Mission Enjoyer. Catalyst Main. New name.
Totally.
Voidwalker Lara. Catalyst Main Lara now, actually. I like
actually have
that.
to play Catalyst on hard simple now.
Fire
Yeah, you
Wizard
do, yeah.
Theater.
Yeah. What's going on?
Not too much. Just streaming, doing YouTube content. Sometimes I'm slacking a little bit. I just want to say I played Holosmith before. It was cool. I really like Holosmith. Yeah, just what's it called? I predict things apparently. I predicted Lion's Arch. So if you want more cool predictions, I only predict the really obvious things though. But still, you can check out my channel at twitch.tv/Humanity. Thanks for having me. I always like being on Tea Time.
Boom. There it is. It's always wonderful to have you here, of course. And finally, it's never wonderful to have Nike, but he just keeps getting on it. I don't know how he does it, to be honest. He just keeps breaking in there. You know, he's in the Discord. He just says, yeah, I'm on Tea Time. There's nothing you can do about it. Otherwise, he's going to flame me. And, you know, I main something, right? So I'll get bullied.
I'll just leak the info. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. That's true, actually, yeah. But anyway, what's going on? Tell us about what you're doing. What's next? What's next?
You can come to my YouTube channel where there's like a mix of sort of serious build guides for warrior players and various other elite specializations. And then on the other hand, you have some somewhat tongue-in-cheek, somewhat harsh truth videos that are meant to be a joke, but also maybe not. Wink. And yeah, if you're interested in that, you can come check it out.
Absolutely. So there you go. Thank you so much to my wonderful hosts for joining me today. Of course, I'm here as well. If you enjoy this Tea Time, follow the stream. If you really like it, you can subscribe. You should follow everyone here. Everyone's social. Look at all these social media links. You could just go through each and every one of them individually and subscribe. You could go on Twitter and impersonate us for $8. Well, I guess you can't do that anymore. That's already over. See, I got at least some commentary about that in, okay? You know, Boots was trying to get some in on his Twitter. He kept deleting his tweets. We've now said it here on Tea Time. There it is. We're in business. But yeah, follow, subscribe, come back and watch every single day, right? Podcast round 2, I think in half an hour with Boots and Lara, so stay tuned for that. And some GBG on this stream in just a few moments. So that's it, gamers. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate all of you hanging out here today. Hope you enjoyed the show. And of course, we'll see you next time. Take it easy, gamers. Follow everyone. Subscribe, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Take it easy, gamers. We'll be right back. I need to press the... Look. Oh, I got it. I pressed the button. Nice.